7th since 2007. And we love this initiative because the purpose of the Big Read is to take one story and show the Kansas City community how we all connect to it. And this year, our Big Read title is Sitting Pretty by Rebekah Taussig. And I hope you were able to pick up a copy in the lobby. It takes a generous and visionary community to help individuals explore their narratives and share them with the world. KCPL would like to thank the NEA, the City of Kansas City, the Missouri Neighborhood Tourist Development Fund, the Health Forward Foundation, and the Estelle S. and Robert A. Long Ellis Foundation. Without their support, we wouldn't be listening to tonight's thrilling tales. And it should come as no surprise that we thought of David Wayne Reed and Shelf Life to be a part of Big Read. Shelf Life is also devoted to connecting people through their stories. In fact, it is through story that many of us here have made it into David's orbit. I have never known a time when David has not told stories. From his plays to his short films to performances, David Wayne Reed explores many mediums to tell many stories, all with the hope that they connect with someone who will be inspired to share their story. Please welcome David Wayne Reed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Did everyone get a cookie? The My Story Matters cookies, these are way on brand. This is bougie here in the big room at the library. I love this. Well, good evening. Welcome to Shelf Life. Whoa, hey. I do that at every show. So my name's David Wayne Reed. Thank you for joining me in this beautiful space here in the Truman Room. I want to extend my gratitude to Katie Stover and the whole library team that has treated me like a king. I haven't had to lift a finger, and I am so not used to that. This show usually happens in a bar downtown, and it is DIY as AF, right? So I want to thank the Kansas City Library and Katie. Support your public libraries, please. To bring Shelf Life here as part of the 2025 Big Read with support from the National Endowment for the Arts, support the NEA, and the reason for the Big Read, the wonderful featured book Sitting Pretty by Rebekah Taussig. Support Rebekah Taussig! So I see a lot of familiar faces, but I see a lot of new faces. Any new first-time attendees to Shelf Life? Hey, wow, well, welcome. So Shelf Life, what is it? It's a live show and telling that focuses on the stories of our belongings. And what I've found over the time doing this, that it's not only about our belongings, but it's a place for belonging. At each Shelf Life show, storytellers share an object and a related story to the night's theme. Since we debuted in 2016, there have been 160 stories and objects featured. All of those are archived. You can listen in at shelflife.club. And themes have included winning, election season, unwanted gifts, idol worship, rituals, family traditions, guilty pleasures, ceremony, protest, and so many more. And finally, tonight, body. We explore the body. So there have been 160 storytellers, including a former NFL player, an Ironman, 2 Guinness Book World Record holders, a pastor, a surgeon, poet, salesman, a hypnotist, geologist, ex-convicts, drag queens, sex workers, band directors, RV enthusiasts, activists, and so many more. I believe in democratizing the stage space so that everyone has the chance to share their story. Yeah. There have also been 160 objects, including cowboy boots, a doggy doorstopper, an easy bake oven, a bust of Elvis Presley, 7 drumsticks from the band Loverboy, a bottle of testosterone, Russian nesting dolls, a cuckoo clock, Kama Sutra flocked wallpaper, a vibrator, a certificate of U.S. citizenship, a warrant for arrest, and a teeny tiny Mitt Romney. The theme tonight is body, our bodies, ourselves. So I want to begin with our bodies. I want to begin with and in our bodies, and I invite you to close your eyes with me. Take a deep breath and hold. And now exhale. I want you to reach, if you are able, to reach up into the sky. Reach your arms way up, like you're climbing up a ladder. Just take a couple of reaches. I want you to close your fists really tight. Really grip them, clench. And now release. Feel that relief. Feel your body. And let your hands back down to your laps. Thank you. That was cool to see from up here. So as we enter back into this space, I want to read a passage from Sitting Pretty to set the table for our evening. Rebekah Taussig writes, "This is the wild emancipation I wish for all of us, a world where we are all free to be, to move, to exist in our bodies without shame. A world that isn't interested in making all of its humans operate in the exact same way. A world that instead strives to invite more, include more, imagine more. That world sees the humans existing on the margins and says, 'You have what we want. What barriers can we remove so we can have you around? What do you need? How can we make that happen?' And so it is. And so we begin tonight to make it happen. Tonight we have 5 storytellers sharing stories of our bodies and their wonder and the stuff that happens to these bodies that we are born into and inhabit. And I'm pleased to be joined on stage by incredible friends and heroes. And I don't say that lightly. So let us begin. Our first guest hails from the rural routes of southeast Kansas. A farm kid like myself, become published poet and PhD. They're the author of the book Sissy. Please welcome our first storyteller, Dr. Canese Jarboe.
I'm not used to being introduced as doctor. Thank you, and what an honor to be introduced to Rebekah's work this way. Up until a few years ago, my dad thought that people had gizzards. I had to prove to him that he doesn't have a gizzard. I'm telling you this because I don't know a better way to explain to you all how alien my own body has been to me than by beginning by informing you that my dad, who loves fried chicken gizzards, 100% believed that he too had a gizzard. I've been just as bewildered by my own organs. When I got my first period in the summer after 5th grade, I ferociously hid it and I didn't know what it was. But I came to the conclusion that it was definitely happening because I ate too many ice cream sandwiches. My dad had brought home a rare treat. It was some accidental overstock at his new job, and I couldn't help but devour them. Whatever was going on, it was definitely the ice cream sandwiches. It's not lost on me how deeply painful my mother's relationship to her own body must be. She could never speak to me about these things. I think often about the fact that she didn't breastfeed me, not because she simply didn't want to or because she couldn't, but because it felt wrong to her. It felt incestuous. It's been my inheritance to have a body that feels like a consequence. I'm not gonna make you wait till the end to find out that I'm trans. Surprise. Sometimes people ask me when I knew. And I wish that it was a clean story and I could tell you that I knew, when I was 4 or 5 or sometime early on. I can't. All I knew was that something was deeply off. I was the oldest daughter on a farm, a little less valuable than one of the newborn calves. The son I think my parents dreamed of would have been able to do the math in his head when he had to figure out just how much herbicide to mix for the acreage. Would have been trusted to bale hay instead of just bucket. Might have been good at welding instead of writing. What they did like, though, was that I was pretty. That was something to be proud of. It didn't come naturally to me, being a girl. But I knew enough to know that it was the only way I could move. For me, the kid whose parents are very confused and ashamed about their own bodies, being a girl meant being as desirable as possible in an impossibly Anna Nicole Smith kind of way. I loved to hurt, like the bleach on my scalp that felt like thousands of fire ants, the bad nail tech who filed my nail beds too thin under the chunky acrylics. I started liking how it felt to be hungry instead of watching diners, drive-ins, and dives with my sister and dreaming about the food on the TV. Every birthday, every New Year, all I ever wished or wrote down was that I wanted to feel at home in my own body. And I didn't quite understand why. I got further and further from myself. But I left the farm too. By the time I got back in my 30s, I was finishing my PhD, was helping on the farm while my dad recovered from an accident that crushed his leg. I was meeting weekly with my therapist in secret. I'd be out feeding the cows, and I would come back and sob to my therapist saying that I was gonna have to wait until my parents died to come out. Something began to shift in me over the weeks that I spent driving my dad's feed truck, mimicking his cattle call, chopping ice in the ponds. I'd always envied the way that he carried himself. And because he had no choice but to trust me, I got the chance to move like him. And I couldn't go back after that. If you didn't know, it can be humiliating to get access to hormones if you're trans. And it's a lot of trouble to go through for something this tiny when you finally do get it. Despite being an adult, a doctoral candidate, an educator of over 10 years, I had to get letters from mental health professionals, more than one, for permission to be prescribed testosterone. It's a very long process, and it's something to fight for that and hold this for the very first time. So this synthetic testosterone, I drove from the farm 5 hours round trip from southeast Kansas to pick this testosterone up here in Kansas City and bring it back. And I was so thrilled to have it, and I could have taken my first dose immediately, but I didn't. It was February 2023, and it was so cold out. And when I got to the farm, I put the vial against my skin down in my binder to keep it from crystallizing. does that when it's cold out. And I grabbed my injection supplies that my nurse had given me, and I walked into the pasture with them. And this is the pasture where I cut wood with my dad, and I learned which woods burned the hottest in the wood stove, which had the most BTUs, which trees to cut for firewood, how many bales of hay this pasture can make in a good year and in a bad one. Where I shot a deer for the first time and decided that I never wanted to do that again. I sat down on the rough stalks of fescue and pulled my pants down to expose my thighs. I prepped my shot and worked up to pushing the needle into my thigh. While I pushed the plunger down, I looked into the trail cam that a neighboring farmer had put up on a tree there. And I remember imagining that he might have gotten a notification on his phone, hoping to see a buck there in the pasture, but he might be looking at me in my underwear. And if you'll be patient with me for just a second, I thought it was important in this climate just to publicly do my shot here real quick in front of you all before I finish up. And this is how I finally know what it feels like to be at home in your own body.
Dr. Canese Jarboe. Wow. Wow. That was beautiful. That was powerful. Thank you for letting us bear witness to that becoming. Our next guest is a drummer, the founder of Steps of Faith, a nonprofit public charity dedicated to providing prosthetic care, hope, and comfort to amputees needing financial support. He is the producer of the annual fundraiser Thunder Gong. Has anybody been to Thunder Gong? Right? So incredible. It brings in a lot of super famous people, and I have to say, like, his Rolodex is crazy to me. I can only imagine, oh, hey, Jason Sudeikis, oh, hey, Naomi Judd. I love that, and I am so proud to be in your Rolodex. Please welcome to the stage, Billy Brimblecom.
So it's a simple assignment with Shelf Life that you have to write and then come read the story that you wrote. So the fact that David asked me to do this several years ago, and I did not write the story, didn't write it down. I said, man, I got bullet points. The fact that I'm still in his Rolodex and was asked back, thank you. This story is written tonight, folks. Okay, so my item, spoiler alert, I like that we just kind of like, you got to it, right? Yeah, I have a prosthetic leg, so that's the item, it's attached to me. But I'll show it to you for a small donation to Steps of Faith. No. There we go. The amount of photos on the internet of me in that pose on a stage in front of people is kind of weird. So anyway, everybody's got a body. They're all different, but we all got one. My son says that my ears are hard and small. I've always said that my nose has been this size since I was born, and I may or may not have grown into it. So, what's the gaga, the shallow? A Star is Born, that's what I was looking for. That's not on the page. Here we go. Okay. There's plenty that I don't love about my body, but I don't need to openly point these things out to you people tonight, okay? But there is plenty about my body that I do love, and most importantly, that I still have one at all. When I was 5 years old, my friend Zach Witterstatter was at my house dancing along to a McDonald's commercial where Ronald McDonald dances with a mop. Any older folks remember that commercial? I was laying on the floor laughing while he did this, and he accidentally stepped on me and broke my collarbone. When I was 11 or 12, I was playing ball outside my house with my friends when the ball went in the sewer. Instead of lifting and sliding the manhole cover off, when we lifted it up, I counted to 3 and said, "Watch your fingers." And then we dropped it, I immediately dropped it on my finger, which sent me to the hospital for stitches and then some. It was this finger, by the way, which is ironic to myself. Screw you, me. Let's bust your finger. Anyway, around the same time, I started playing the drums, and I learned what it was like to get blisters and busted knuckles and to bleed for my art. My ability to talk myself out of a jam and make my would-be enemies laugh kept the nose I mentioned earlier from getting broken in high school many times. In my early 20s, I learned what a bangover was. Not hangover, bangover. That's rocking so hard and head banging and chicken necking that the next day you have a bangover. When I was 22, I cheated death for the first time. I was in a terrible snowy car accident just as K-10 highway turned into 23rd Street pulling into Lawrence, Kansas. The jaws of life were used. It was gnarly. Along with little shards of glass in my hands and the epitome of being a little banged up, I had a compression fracture on my L1 and L3 vertebrae. I was very lucky, and I still managed to play drums with my band a month later at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. Thank you very much. R.I.P. South by Southwest, I hear. Then when I was 28, after years of off and on pain in my left ankle, I finally got it checked out. One test turned to many more to ultimately determine that I had cancer in that ankle. Ewing's sarcoma, to be specific. For all you cancer nerds in the audience, It's a whole Reddit subgenre I hear. I was told the only reason I would lose my leg would be to save my life. Chemotherapy started within days of this news, and any plans to tour with my new band, Blackpool Lights, would have to wait. Later that summer, I got the news that the leg had to go. 2 weeks later, I was in the hospital surrounded by friends from all over the country. The worst thing that had ever happened to me is a complex memory because the support from those folks also made it quite beautiful. I even got 2 phone calls 2 days in a row from Rick Allen, the drummer from Def Leppard, who famously lost his arm in an auto accident and went on to make one of the biggest albums ever. True story for next time. Out of the hospital and immediately back onto the drums, a 4-limbed instrument, by the way, was a whole new challenge. But I knew that once I was healed up, I'd get a new robot leg, and I'd kind of worked out in my head how to make it happen. And sure enough, I did. Slowly but surely, thanks to this new tool, I learned to walk again, play drums, live my life, and get my mobility back. A couple years later, I got engaged and practiced going up and down the stairs in my apartment so that I could walk down the stairs outside the church after my wedding, not holding a railing, but simply holding my wife's hand. And when I watch that video back, I am going so fast, it makes me nervous every time. It's like, oh my God, you could have okay, we get it. Yeah, anyway, I've never walked that fast in my life downstairs since I lost my leg. This new tool has allowed me to walk in New York City, Tokyo, London, and in and out of the hospital twice for the birth of each one of my kids. This tool has allowed me to walk in and out of an office, coffee shop office, and eventually an actual office every day for the last 12 years to do my job of running my nonprofit Steps of Faith Foundation, an organization that gets tools like mine, prosthetic legs, for other amputees with no health insurance. This tool has also made it possible for me to walk for miles in Washington, D.C., from House side to Senate side on Capitol Hill, fighting for common sense initiatives for other amputees. Something tells me there are many more of those miles coming up in the very near future. This tool, this robot leg, allows me to still play drums, even as a way of raising money for Steps of Faith. Thundergong. It makes it so that I can do cool things, extraordinary things, and all of that is wonderful. But the ordinary and the mundane things, like walking into my son's band concert, walking up to those very uncomfortable bleachers to sit at that concert, or walk at a restaurant with my family, those are the things that make me most thankful for this thing. I'm a very lucky guy. I'm lucky to have this robot leg. It makes me not feel like a handicapped person and allows me to live a free life of mobility. Thankfully, this does not sit on a shelf, but attaches to my body and makes so much possible for me. This once broken, but now fully healed, but still flawed body has been through a lot, and I'm thankful for every flaw and every mile. Thank you.
Billy Brimblecom, thank you so much. What a great story. Our next guest, I'm pretty sure, is a hero. I really do think that she has a secret life as a hero, but she's also my very close friend and coworker. She's an amazing artist. You can see her work at Gate 63 at KCI, and I shouldn't say this, but it is literally my favorite at the airport. Please welcome my good friend, Kathy Liao.
Let me adjust this. And I'm super nervous, so take a breath. Thank you. My object is something I called a stupid crank brace thing. The official name for it is shoulder abductor orthosis. I put this on every day for a period of time. after my arm decided it no longer wants to move anymore. Across 8 months, it slowly and painfully stiffened until I could no longer lift my arm. I couldn't sleep through the night because of pain. I could no longer reach for things above a certain height. A wrong angle sends shooting pain down my back, my neck, my shoulder. I worked with a physical therapist for almost a year. I had 2 steroid shots into my shoulder, I had multiple CT and MRI scans. The final diagnosis was frozen shoulder, adhesive capsulitis. No reason, it just happens, the orthopedist said to me. It was mentally debilitating watching my body go on a strike. For all the medical interventions attempted, my arm seems to protest by limiting the range of motion further. I felt hopeless and defeated. At the worst of it, the freeze stage, my PT suited me up with this contraption. So how does this thing correct my frozen shoulder? Through abduction. It forcefully moved my arm away from the center of my body, deceived my arm into incrementally extending its range, pushing through pain, 1 crank at a time. It's a pretty violent way to get my arm to comply. My shoulder did begin to thaw. However, the pain persisted. I became hesitant to use my arm. I adjusted my life around it, and my world got smaller. Truth be told, I've been waging a cold war against my body for the majority of my life. I lived with an eating disorder, bulimia nervosa, and this is a secret steeped in deep guilt and shame that I hid from the world for 25 years. I finally sought out treatment last year for it, but until then, I truly felt numb and resigned, thinking I would die with this secret. Bessel van der Kolk, the author of The Body Keeps the Score, noted that when your reality is not seen or known, that is trauma. My body image was deeply affected by my mom, who also had disordered eating. Throughout my childhood, she commented on my body and made decisions regarding my body, including for me to undergo a double eyelid surgery. What got embedded in my psyche was this body was not good enough. Lack of agency over my own body also contributed to the disconnect I have with my body and past versions of myself. I remember when I came home from high school one day and saw a picture of myself before the surgery. I secretly grabbed an X-Acto knife and scratched into my eyes, and I hid that photo in the back of the frame. Such violence and abduction. I was forcefully removed from the center of my body, splitting away from my core self. The eating disorder embedded itself into the belief that my body is a machine, a means to an end, and this disregard for my body is learned. When we moved to the States, my dad stayed back in Taiwan to work and support my family. He struggled physically and mentally. There was secrecy, loneliness, shame, sacrifice, and abuse. His uncontrolled diabetes devastated his eyesight, his immune system, and his health. Once, I was shocked to see mangled bruises, black and purple bruises on his shoulder. My dad told me he was feeling unwell and was trying to self-administer shots of vitamins and vaccine so he can keep working. He died 12 years ago. With roots in neglect attachment wounds, and acculturation trauma, my younger self developed an eating disorder to endure the unbearable. Like my parents, I abandoned my body to survive. Throughout my life, I had chronic issues with my organs. I had blood conditions, thyroid diseases, and autoimmune flares. Instead of listening to my body, I saw my body as defective, an obstinate adversary. Because of this feeling of not enoughness, my eating disorder thrived on productivity, achievement, and pleasing others. These last few years, I was navigating stressful changes, interpersonal conflict at work. My art practice was on hyperdrive. I started a graduate degree. Home life was an emotional roller coaster. I took on the role of caretaker for my mom and my grandma and emigrated them to the United States. On top of that, there was a global pandemic to boot. All the while, I thought I was fine. I got this. My eating disorder allowed me to swallow my negative emotions, to bury my overwhelm, and I kept enduring. I can be a superhuman for everyone around me, except for me. Amidst all that, my arms started freezing up. I went into treatment last year for my eating disorder. This last December, paired with ongoing therapy, I had a profound and healing experience with psilocybin. My body opened up to me like a map, a living history. With unwavering clarity and a deep knowing, I found my father there. Heavy, heavy grief laced with guilt. These emotions, this trauma resided in my shoulder, trying to get my attention. During this process, I was back at the moment when I received a call from my mom telling me my baba died. I was back in my old house, against a wall, feeling the impact of that raw, primal grief. The most guttural, ugly cry came out of me. So much pain. There was so much pain. I felt the trauma of generations in my arm. I tapped, I pounded, I caressed and tapped my shoulder, and I cared and I nurtured my arm. I forgave myself and told my younger self it was not her fault. No force, no abduction, no judgment, just love and acceptance. This is what it's like to be seen and known by your deepest self. My arm still hurts, but it no longer limits me. I am thankful for every time I stretch, I reach, and I create. I accept all the sensations, strength, pain, and all. The physical therapist told me that there will be scar tissues and it won't be the same again. This makes sense to me. I see evidence of healing when grief once sat raw. I see thread of generational trauma weave through my shoulder like a sleeve. This is a part of the whole of me, and in acceptance, it felt light and liberating. I am recovering from my eating disorder and healing from trauma. I am learning to trust my body and for my body to trust me again. I'm also learning to listen to it, to pay attention to cues both subtle and loud. I am in the process of mending, forgiving, and unfolding. And I am grateful to be in this body. Thank you, everyone.
Kathy Liao, yes. Our next guest is a Kansas City writer and teacher with her doctorate in creative nonfiction and disability studies. Her book, Sitting Pretty, is the featured 2025 Big Read selection. Her new children's book, We Are the Scrappy Ones, was literally just released. Please welcome to the stage, the reason for the season, Rebekah Taussig.
Thank you. Oh, how stunning is this? I've just been sitting over there with my body filling up with a lot of tears and wonder. Thank you, David, and everyone at the library for bringing us together. I mean, bearing witness to these stories, I feel stunned, and I feel like this is so important. And especially thinking about stories about bodies, there is an intimacy to that, and I just feel really honored to be on this stage with among the other storytellers that have been here tonight. So thank you. Okay, I'm gonna tell a story. Are we ready? Okay. Whew. Soon after I stopped walking, I started seeing a renowned pediatric neurologist. And even as a 4-year-old, I knew this woman was terribly important. We'd wait for her for what felt like half the day in this eerily quiet, like perfectly sterile basement room, miles away from sunlight or the sound of birds. My dad's voice reading the latest Reader's Digest would turn into white noise as I laid my head on my mom's lap, like, are we in hell's waiting room? When, bam, there she was, surrounded by a flock of residents, all smiling professionally, all looking at me. She was a short woman with a loud voice who would push her face close enough to mine that I could smell the powder that she wore on her cheeks. It's been more than 30 years, and it is not difficult for me to conjure the sound of this woman's voice. Confrontational, impatient, unrelenting. Her job was to assess the nerve damage that had been done to my body after all of the surgeries and radiation, like how much could I feel and how strong were my legs and was I getting better or no. She carried a collection of objects in her white doctor's coat. I remember the safety pin. I would sit on the edge of this hospital cot, thin white paper crinkling beneath me, and every person in the room would go quiet. My parents, the flock of residents, the doctor, all eyes focused on me as she pressed that safety pin into different parts of my lower body. Sometimes the curved top, sometimes that pointy end into my shin, my ankle, the bottom of my foot. And I wasn't allowed to look, right? I was just supposed to wait until I felt something. And it was the ultimate test, like being right there on the spelling bee stage, the spotlight blazing in my face. And my body was the only thing that held all of the clues if I could just concentrate hard enough. So I'd turn off all the senses, all the other senses in my body, just straining to feel the press of that safety pin. Every cell on my body on high alert. Do you feel this? She would ask. There's that voice, like a chain yanking me to attention. Did I feel it? I'd wait. I'd wonder, was that a flutter, like a sort of tickle on my left ankle? Yes? Where? My right ankle? And I'd wait for her to blare the buzzer to tell me I was wrong. We performed this ritual annually for years. And the story I took with me was that my body was broken. My body failed every test. My body would betray me, like hang me out to dry right there on the spelling bee stage. And as I grew older, Instead of learning to listen to my body, work with my body, look to my body for clues, I became 5 stars excellent at ignoring my body. I left it for the world of thinking and words, a universe I could control through the levers of my mind. I could convince myself it was a good idea to marry my high school boyfriend, even though my body cringed when he touched me. Instead of reading my panic attacks about my future as a friendly sign that I could seek out some support, I dismissed them as my own silly, childish dramas and plowed ahead. That gut feeling you have can't be trusted. That pain you feel, it's best to ignore it. Whatever you do, don't let it show on your face. I really wish this was the part of the story where I was going to tell you about the afternoon when everything changed. I mean, so much has changed since I was that 4-year-old trying to feel the sharp end of a safety pin. I grew up to claim disability as an identity that I hold with pride. I wrote a whole book about life lived from this very particular point of view, and now I regularly get to sit on stages across the country where I hold the microphone and I get to talk about disability in whatever way makes the most sense to me. In fact, I often use that microphone to tell people about the importance of staying connected to our bodies. But actually, staying connected to my body, like in everyday real life, it feels like trying to grow an extra organ. Like, the older I get, the more important it seems to be, and the harder it is to actually do it. And also, I have this son. I grew him in this beautiful, war-torn body of mine, this pulverized landscape, this crumbling machine, this unlikely home. And he feels everything. His emotions blaze through him, white hot. They take over his body and come out in heartbroken howls and cascading giggles. His hugs arrive as surprise attacks. He finds a perch, opens his arms as wide as they can reach, and jumps on me like a spider monkey, limbs flailing, heads bonking, airways constricted. A lightning burst of explosive affection. One night, when he's 3, he is swept into a meltdown that breaks all the scales. His screams are louder, his face is redder, his blood veins are popping, the house fills with his rage, or is it fear? Until everyone in the house has officially left our bodies. I pull my son onto my lap, kicking and writhing, and put 2 of my fingers on the pulsing vein in his neck. I whisper right in his ear, thud, 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 thud. Can you feel that? That's your heartbeat. Wow, it's beating so fast. Here, feel mine. He's still crying as I pull his hand to my neck. Do you feel that? I ask. Wow, so fast, right? I'm not sure he can even hear the words I'm saying, but I continue. You know what we can do to slow down our heartbeats? Breathe. Can you take some deep breaths with me? I pull his hand to his chest, my hand over his. Let's try. His chest rises and falls, his breath shallow and quick. I pull his hand to my chest and do my best to breathe long and slow. I try to catch his eyes. His breathing is still ragged, but the screaming starts to recede. We take turns feeling our breaths, our heartbeats, until everything slows. I feel his body get heavy and soft against mine. Thud, 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 thud. I narrate the sound. Do you feel that? He looks at me. Yeah? I ask. Yeah? I'm almost giggling with relief, amazed by this mysterious power of listening to breath, feeling our heartbeats, catching each other's eyes. I'm assembling a Lego castle with only my taste buds, leading us through a maze made out of marbles, piloting a kite to the moon, which is to say, I don't know what I'm doing. But maybe there's a tiny part of me that does, like a littler version that just wants to say, hold on, give me a second. It is a lot to be here. I don't feel that, but I do feel this, and this, and this too. I am here. Just give me a second to breathe.
Wonderful, wonderful. Rebekah Taussig. Y'all have raffle tickets? Lucy, do you have the raffle bucket? You guys, I love raffles. This is the thing about me. Those of you who know me know, but those of you who don't know, now you know. I have literally won a 50-inch flat screen television and a laptop from raffles. And tickets to NASCAR, now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, I love a raffle. Tonight we have a gift donated from the Kansas City Library. It's very bookish. Also, my parents are here, George and Betty Brimblecom. They are the beautiful people you know. Mom, will you draw the winning ticket? All right. 238. Yeah! 238, 35. 5. 5. Is it you? All right on. Oh, great. I believe you. Yes, thank you. Congratulations. Okay, well, I didn't save the best for last because I'm last. So I'm just going to be out front about that. But I am your last speaker tonight. Where's my... Oh. My object is the Fit Simplify X Heavy Resistance Band. I fell into a terrible depression in the fall of 2021. And my instinct/trauma response was to start doing 100 sit-ups every day. Trauma responses come in many forms. But it was my body's response to grief and suffering. It was around that time that I also bought a 25-pound kettlebell and this resistance band to add to my routine. I work out in the morning 6 days a week. It's a ritual, and it's a reason to wake up early in the darkness, to pack my gym bag, to drive 3 miles to the gym, to fuss with the parking lot gate, scan in at the front desk, validate my parking, walk to the locker room, find a locker, usually number 160, because I'm a creature of habit. I place my things, adjust my headset, set the podcast, book, or tunes. My current rotation is Lil' Kim or Will to Change by Bell Hooks. I'm complicated, okay. I take supplements and I drink fruity protein drinks. I alternate and I go and do chest, legs, Bulgarian split squats, leg press, chest press, kickback of glutes, and the sky is finally becoming light before I spray the handles with disinfectant and move to the next machine for biceps and then hip abductor and some free weights for delts and shoulders. Flexing, stretching, breaking, repairing, growing, repeating. Each morning is like the one before, and I like this because it feels like a guide rope for when the waters get choppy and I get tossed around the deck of the ship that is me. 98, 99, 100. I'm a counter. I'm a time machine. I'm 52, 6'1", 180. I wake up at 6, 100 sit-ups, 100 reps, 30 grams protein shake. I make coffee, 3 spoonfuls, steep for 4 minutes, 2 cups. I meditate for 20 minutes. I close my eyes and I inhale for 4. I hold for 6. I exhale for 4. I hold and I repeat. I am counting. Counting is a pattern, which is a habit, which becomes a ritual. And I'm really good at habits, but unfortunately for a long time, I had really bad ones. I love habits, and that which we love, we show our devotion. And I love to get altered. I love to see, feel, and enact transformation and liberation. I literally count on it. Kathy said, the body keeps score, and my body has a count. My body flipped upside down in a car. My body nearly drowned. My body bullied. My body nearly choked to death. My body taken against its will. My body altered. My body arrested. My body remembers. A trauma is a scar, and a scar is a tattoo of a tearing, an evidence of a mending, a place in our body's pottery that time fills with gold. These scars are a map of me, the scar on my thumb sliced by the blades of a fan, the scar on my elbow cut by a slide into third base, chickenpox scar on my forehead, calves burned by a motorcycle's muffler, divot under my right eye bitten by a junkyard dog, scars on the backs of my eyes from a surgery that uncrossed them, and all of the other hidden scars, the branding iron of regrets and shadows and all that has made me, jagged little tears, these timestamps of transformation. When I was growing up on the farm, we would put up hay, picking 50 to 60-pound square bales and bucking them up onto a moving wagon. There must have been hundreds and hundreds of these bales, and the repetition of the motion of resistance was relentless. And at the end of the day, when you finally stopped lifting, your arms would just float up, as if drawn by imaginary hands, a relief after this repetition of resistance and the relief of letting go. In my years of doing this show, I've noticed something happen time and time over. The storytellers leave the stage with a different posture than the one that they entered with. One time I had a storyteller on the show who told me afterwards, she said, "Dwayne Wayne." Only she calls me that. Said, "Dwayne Wayne, you healed me." And I started crying, and I couldn't accept the compliment because I told her, no, you healed yourself. There's something that happens when people share their story and they release and they stand in the truth of their accountability before an audience. They walk taller because they're free from keeping a story silent. It's like coming to terms. It's like coming out. See, there's a price to pay for holding our stories captive. Our bodies hold that weight. Our bodies keep the score, and they keep count. And like a muscle, we have to repeat, and we grow, and we adapt, and we tear, and we rise from resistance and into liberation when we share our stories. That's my story. My body tells me so. This is Shelf Life. I'm David Wayne Reed. Thank you so much for attending and being a part of this collective body. Thank you to all of my storytellers, Rebekah, Kathy, Billy, Dr. Canese. Thank you all so much for being here and being a part of this. Till next time, good night.